Alright, I'm gonna try to earn some more jewels before tomorrow night, so I can do one more banner pull. So I guess I'm gonna start with these gauntlet quests. Looks like there's 2 of them available so far. Anyways, the new Kingdom Hearts Union podcast just came out, so I'm gonna have that on the background. So enjoy. Which I guess I should be naming these episode numbers just for, in case you're time jumping watching this video. So this is Kingdom Hearts Union 128. Came out, what's today? 30th. So wow, it came out yesterday. I thought they released on Wednesday. I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, the 8/29/17, Kingdom Hearts Union episode 128. All right, enjoy. Oh, just a second. I forgot to pair my Bluetooth. There we go. Okay. Back to the podcast.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the 128th episode of Kingdom Hearts Union. I'm your host Brandon, and I'm here with you today. Today is a very special episode because it's going to be a question special. You can thank Square Enix for not releasing enough news, or any news. There is no news. So moving along, for you new folks, Kingdom Hearts Union is part of the podcast series called Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts Union, and is presented by me.
Oh, I guess I recorded this episode after or before the current Union Cross missions came out, so that sucks, but oh well, in a couple weeks I guess I'll have plenty to talk about.
Union Network. We release every Tuesday, rotating each week with Final Fantasy Union, and we come out on the iTunes Store, KingdomHeartsUnion.com, and Kingdom Hearts Ultimania's Twitter, which is at KHUltimania. So, for this episode, as I said before, it's a question special, so the only segment will be questions from you. In the way of announcements, as always, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/FFKHUnion. Just pledge $1 and get access to a special podcast called Please Be Excited. Our Patreon executive producers for this episode are as follows. We've got Barry Norton, who is at Norchon0. We have Blue Machine, who is at Blue Machine. Christian Burge, Joe Tremonti, who is at JC Tremonti, Louis James, Satria Jutta Zudharma, who is at Satria625Ruben, Chris Morales, Brian McArdle, who is at DarthBrain92, Eric Decker, who is at Choco Taco, Harley Crawley, who is at DarkZT Okami, Jonathan Gonzalez, who is at Oh It's Just Johnny, Josh McNabb, who is at J2K9, Marcus Carnecki, Michael Graham, Thorin Bullen, who is at Massacre23, Tyson Wildman, who is at Ty Wildman1, William Trengrove, who is at Varnish the Azure, Zach Duranto, who is at ZDuranto58, Billy Jackson, who is at _Billy Jackson, Darren Matthews, who is at Doomster73, John McCrae, Joseph Robertson, who is at Pokemon Trainer J, Keith Field, who is at The Mighty Keith, Mario Herker, Mike Shirley Donnelly, who is at Curious Quail, Mohammed Quail, Nico Gonzalez, who is at Nick_Knack95, Rachel Casterton, who is at Orba Yunray, Winkle the Bernie Bro, who is Perry Ramstad, who is at the_Bernie_Bro, Vitanetus, who is at V_Tron5000, Zach Porter, who is
Okay, I just want to stop here really quick and say I made the mistake, I think, over 3 months ago now, of putting DV3 on Young Hercules because I needed it to get through the Coliseum a few months back, and I just now maxed it out, so I can finally transfer it to something. I'm not going to worry about it this video, but just thought I'd brag about something stupid I did. What about you? episode 14. Alright, back to the video. I apologize, I know these quests aren't that interesting, but I gotta do them real quick. And I'll probably go some proud quests.
Porter Paradox and Zelda Clone, who is at Apes Type Novels. And finally, be a part of the show. Send us your questions to khuquestions@gmail.com. So, speaking of which, let's move on to the questions. Which, again,
Excuse
be a
me.
part of a future question segment, khuquestions@gmail.com. That's the place to go. Send us a bunch of questions, because I basically scraped through all the remaining ones that I could find, in a reasonable time. I don't know if there's like some extra question buried in an email that we partially gleaned from, but please send us your questions to khuquestions@gmail.com. Send us a whole bunch. So our first question comes from Picklechew, and Picklechew asks, with Final Fantasy XV's recent Gamescom announcements, it's got me thinking. What do you think about the likelihood of Kingdom Hearts 3 or any Kingdom Hearts game releasing on PC? And what about a mobile reimagining of Kingdom Hearts?
No.
So just to get people caught up to speed on the recent Final Fantasy XV announcements from Gamescom, the two biggest ones were Final Fantasy XV is coming to PC, and actually it's coming out on like a whole bunch of stores on PC. It's going to be out on the Microsoft Store, Steam, and Origin, which that one's kind of a weird one, because Origin, so Origin is EA, Electronic Arts. That's their PC storefront, and they do have third-party support also, but it's usually, from my understanding, it's usually just EA games that are on there. So I found that kind of surprising and interesting, actually. It's not the first time EA and Square have had collabs in the past, especially if you go back and look at in the PlayStation generation. You'll see a lot of their games start out with, one of the titles is Square Electronic Arts, and that's like them trying to, get things going so they can publish on the PlayStation. So that's kind of interesting to see that they're helping out to get the published on PC. Well, they're one of 3 places you can buy the game on PC. So that's exciting. I'm super excited for Final Fantasy XV on PC. They got mod support. It looks super pretty. They backed off the high dive a little bit. If you look back in March, they had like this tech showcase going on, and they showed off this really cool global illumination technology. Global illumination is basically a fancy umbrella term for a bunch of technologies that simulate the way light bounces in a scene. Basically, if you go online, Google real-time global illumination, you'll see some really cool tech demos of games that use it, and you can see how much richer the lighting in the scene looks. I would say a really good example or at least one that relates very closely to Final Fantasy XV is there was going to be a game called Fable Legends. It was going to be some sort of like MOBA game that was like a spin-off of Fable. It inevitably, unfortunately, got canceled. And they actually developed in Unreal Engine 4 a global illumination system called LPV, Light Propagation Volumes. And they combined it with the skylighting system that was already built in with Unreal Engine 4. Final Fantasy XV uses a very similar lighting system to skylighting. So if you just Google Fable Legends Global Illumination, you'll see this like really very straightforward breakdown. They show a picture of what a scene looks like with just direct lighting, meaning 0 bounds whatsoever. Then they show a scene with just skylighting, and that's what you would normally see in Final Fantasy XV is like something that's pretty much just getting light that's reflected from the sky. And then they show light propagation volumes plus skylighting plus direct lighting, and that just looks beautiful, so good. Almost looks like a Pixar movie. Now, Brandon, what about Kingdom Hearts? Kingdom Hearts, I know. I'm get back. Does Kingdom Hearts have global illumination? Yes, it does. But Kingdom Hearts global illumination is baked. Which basically means that they pre-calculated what the global illumination is supposed to look like, and they saved it to a texture. So it's global illumination, but it's static. It cannot change. Now, it doesn't need to change in Kingdom Hearts because there's no time of day changing. It's not an open world game. Every area that you go to, it will stay in the time of day that it is. That's not saying that you can't have a scene at night. It just means that if you want to have a scene at night, that means you have to rebake all of the lighting for the scene and basically have a different copy of the level that is the nighttime version of the level that has the nighttime version of the lighting scenario. So, if these were like files in the Kingdom Hearts, Blu-ray disc, one of the files would be like Mount Olympus section A _ daytime, and then there would be Mount Olympus section A _ nighttime. And those would be the two versions. And, depending on, where the story is, when you go to that area, it might request in the game to load the nighttime version or the daytime version. So that's one way they could handle, having two versions of a level, and the only difference being the lighting in the scene. So that's actually very common for, like, older games. These days, you have real-time day and night cycles, and lighting gets a lot more complicated when you do it that way. That's what Final Fantasy 15 has, and that's where you would need real-time global illumination, or you just don't do real-time global illumination and your lighting just doesn't look as good. So that's just one thing. Okay, moving on to actual questions. What do you think the likelihood of Kingdom Hearts 3 or any game is releasing on PC? Okay, so as of right now, we don't have any Kingdom Hearts games releasing on PC. I'm not sure if there's any, legal problems with that happening. I don't think there should be. You gotta consider, other Disney, or at least let's tackle the Disney part of it. Now, while Disney, I don't know if Disney has any regularly released games that come to PC. We do, or at least, obviously they did way in the past, Disney was so popular on PC, in the 90s and the mid-2000s, but lately their games department has been, obliterated, pretty much. It's very sad. But, if you look at EA, going back to EA, Electronic Arts, they have the deal with Disney to make all the Star Wars games, and those release on PC, so I don't think Disney is a stopper for that. And the other big collaboration, basically anytime that we talk about anything related to Kingdom Hearts and legal stuff, we talk about two points of potential conflict. We talk about Disney, and we talk about Hikaru Utada, the girl who sings the music. And is it possible that she could stop them from doing it? Maybe, but I'm sure they would, if they were really interested in porting these games to PC, I'm sure they would do it. Or they would do whatever is necessary to adjust the license, so, and, whatever makes, Utada happy, they'll probably do it to make it work out. I'm pretty positive that throughout the years of Utada and Square working together, they've probably renegotiated the contract a couple of times, or at least once, because there's no way they could have, imagined all the new technologies that are out these days that, you can't create a contract back in 2002 that, would encompass all those things. Most of these contracts are being rethought anyway these days. So, is it possible? I think so. Let's talk from a technical perspective. Kingdom Hearts 3 is, so easy. Asterisk. No game is, that easy to get running or to port to PC and release it as a finished product. But at least in Kingdom Hearts or Kingdom Hearts 3's instance, that's running on Unreal Engine 4. So to get it running on PC, super easy. Like literally, there's an option, you press it and it exports for PC. It's that easy. Now, the difficulty in releasing a retail PC game is not getting it running on PC, it's getting it running well on everyone's PCs, or at least getting it running well on most people's PCs. That's where the challenge comes in. I'm sure, if that's something they're interested in the future, maybe they'll look into it, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely the easier one of the entire collection, other than like 0.2 and, well, anything that's just a movie like back cover. Of course, that's easy. So, yeah, anything that is running in Unreal Engine 4, bam, easy. Well, relatively easier to do. Anything like, for example, the 1.5, 2.5 collections, those are going to be a little bit more challenging. That said, I feel like they've done most of the hard stuff already. Now, I'm not an expert on console PC porting or console to PC ports, but my understanding is the fact that they got it off PS2, or a lot of those games off PS2, PSP, whatever, and also rescued them from PS3, because they went to PS3 after, and they're on PS4 now, my understanding is that PS4 architecture is quite similar to what you would encounter on PC. So the fact that those games are on PS4, that probably indicates that it would be not too bad to port to PC. PS4 is, in fact, x86 architecture, which is what the PC uses. It's not like the PS3 was when, they had the Cell processor, and it was this weird PowerPC Toshiba Sony collaboration processor that, it's not comparable to anything, in the PC space. So it's not like that. It's an x86 processor. It's very similar to like a lower end laptop that runs AMD parts. So it's not that different. So the fact that it got to PS4 probably would mean it's not too bad. But I would say out of all of those things, Kingdom Hearts 3, anything running on Unreal Engine 4, that's going to be the easiest stuff to port over. And then the second half of the question, well, I guess, okay, so what's the likelihood? I think it's pretty likely that it'll come to PC, but it may take a while. A lot of Square games are out there, and so far we haven't seen it happen yet, but I think it'll happen. That's, you gotta be optimistic about these things. And what about a mobile reimagining of Kingdom Hearts? So the other announcement that Final Fantasy 15 got was there's a Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition that is going to be released. That is it's like a mobile game version of Final Fantasy 15 that covers the exact same story as the base game, but it does it with a QC art style that is mobile phone friendly. It's not too intensive. It's not open world. It's completely redesigned for mobile. So what if Kingdom Hearts, or any of the games, got such a reimagining where it was just story and it wasn't like super visually impressive, but maybe it had like a cute art style, something like that. I think it'd be kind of interesting. Had you asked me while I still lived in America, I would say, no way, Jose, I don't want to see that. Why you ruined my baby? But now that I live here in Japan and I'm starting to see the reality of the gaming situation here, I'm starting to get that that mobile port of Final Fantasy 15 may not necessarily be for America or Europe. It'll release in those places, but it may not necessarily be for them. When I look into the way Japanese people play games here, it's just like everything's mobile. You talk to people about console games, and the only people that respond are like adults that are in their 30s or 40s, and they talk about how they played on the PS2. And none of the kids, like almost none of the kids that go to my school play console games. Some of them might have a 3DS, but most of them play mobile games, like pretty much exclusively mobile. So it's sad, but you kind of gotta go to where the people are, and Square is a Japanese company, so they do have kind of a, maybe not imperative to service this market, but like they can, so why not? So I can see the financial value for it, even though it's not for me. Now, I also see it as a good opportunity to like get new people into the series, and if it's something that easily and quickly covers a lot of ground in the Kingdom Hearts story, I think that would not only be a good thing for casual fans, but also be just a good thing for everyone. Because what is like desperately needed is some sort of like easy way to get people into the series, and a good way to like review the series. Theater mode sort of covers that for a lot of these games, but you have to first beat the game, so for some people that's just not going to happen. So, interesting question. I think it's possible. I mean, Final Fantasy 15 gets away with a lot more than Kingdom Hearts does, but it's definitely possible, and I think it's an interesting idea and an interesting opportunity, especially for, markets like Japan. So, the next question comes from Jojo, and Jojo asks, do you think any of the more recent Disney films have a chance of making it into Kingdom Hearts 3? So far, Big Hero 6 is the most recent, but what about Moana or Star Wars Force Awakens? So that's actually a really good question. So you're right. In terms of the Disney films that are announced so far for Kingdom Hearts, we've got Olympus Coliseum, so that's Hercules. We've got Tangled. We've got Big Hero 6, and we have Toy Story. And the most recent of those films is Big Hero 6. So Big Hero 6 released in 2014, which would have been pretty early on in the development process for Kingdom Hearts 3. That's like around the time they switched to Unreal Engine 4. So yeah, that's pretty recent. So what chance does a movie like Zootopia or Moana or Star Wars Force Awakens, what chance do they have? It's a bit unclear, when they decided all the worlds, or if they're all decided at the moment. I have a feeling they might be all decided, and I kind of have a feeling they might have said something to that effect at some point. I think maybe even as early as 2015, around the time of the Big Hero 6 announcement, I think they might have said that, well, I know for sure they said that they had a plan for like a roadmap for when they would be announcing Disney Worlds. So it's possible that they had already planned what they would have in 2015. So it's possible that if that's the case, then movies beyond 2015 might have been like impossible. I'm not sure exactly when Zootopia came. That might have been either 2015 or 2016. But yeah, I think both like Zootopia, Moana, Star Wars Force Awakens, I can take it or leave it. But Moana and Zootopia, I can definitely see those being like really good candidates for like Kingdom Hearts worlds. That being said, like because of the time that they've released, it may not be possible. But that's not to say that they didn't start working on them even before the movies came out, because they are in fact working with Disney, so they could do such a thing. I think it's also possible that, so if you look at the way they're handling Kingdom Hearts Disney Worlds this time around, a lot of them have original stories. So it could quite be possible that these worlds could have been tackled and could have been decided even before the movies came out, and the way they would get around it is maybe Disney would give them the basic information they would need to write a story in that universe, but is not necessarily the same plot as the movie. It's like either a continuation or something, kind of like how Big Hero 6 almost serves as a sequel to Big Hero 6, or the Big Hero 6 world almost serves as a sequel to the original Big Hero 6. And the Toy Story world happens in between Toy Story 2 and 3. So it's like, these are things that weren't happening in the movies, so I could see them using that kind of a strategy to get Moana and, Zootopia, into the Kingdom Hearts 3 world list, and maybe they had been working on them for a while, even before the movies came out. So, is it possible? Maybe. But yeah, it is a really interesting question. I could also see maybe just cameo appearances by some of these characters from these movies, because that's a much smaller commitment than making an entire world based on these things. It's also clear, coming off of the D23 announcements on Toy Story, there's going to be a lot less worlds, or maybe not a lot less, but there's going to be less worlds in Kingdom Hearts 3 than were in Kingdom Hearts 2, which that had 15 worlds. And instead, they're going to focus on making these worlds very detailed. So that would sort of lean me over towards maybe they're probably going to only focus on movies that had already come out by 2014, 2015, rather than movies that would be coming out later. Because at least with those movies, they would have a lot more information, a lot more detail, because it's already released. Disney doesn't have to be secretive about any of that stuff. So, yeah, good question. I'll say probably not. I don't think they will. But maybe cameos. Maybe that'll happen. It's sad, but hey, there's always Kingdom Hearts 4 and beyond. Next question comes from Brent. Brent asks, do you think Haley Joel Osment will always voice Sora? There has been a lot of criticism of his performance of Sora in 0.2. Do you think there may come a point where he just can't do the voice anymore? Well, it's a sad thought to think, but maybe. Technically Sora's had at least one other voice actor, and that was for Child Sora in Birth by Sleep. Yeah, I don't think Haley Joel Osment would be up to doing, 5 or 6 year old version of himself. So, yeah, that was fine. So, could it happen? Yeah, it could definitely happen. That sort of thing seems to maybe either be happening or has happened with Kairi. With Hayden Panettiere, it seemed like
wow.
At least in my opinion, in Kingdom Hearts 2, it kind of felt like she was struggling to do the voice. Kairi in Kingdom Hearts 2 does not sound anything like Kairi in Kingdom Hearts 1, but Hayden Panettiere, who can you say? What can you say to her? She is the voice. You can't say you don't sound enough like you, but she doesn't really sound like.
All right, so I'm gonna just finish this one real quick. I'll do one more if I can, and I'll call it a video.
Like she did back then, and for good reason. She was a little kid when she recorded for Kairi back in the day, and then for Kingdom Hearts 2, she was already I think an adult by then. So yeah, that's a tough situation. Now, Haley Joel Osment is still doing the voice, and he's as an actor, I kind of feel like he's been a lot busier these days than he has been in the past. But I don't know if he's so busy that he wouldn't do the voice after a while. But anything's possible with Kingdom Hearts. It could be as simple as they just don't have the budget for Haley Joel Osment anymore. At some point in the future, it could be that they just decide, maybe Haley Joel Osment decides, hey, I want more money for this, and he wants to renegotiate his contract, and then maybe they just cut him off and they get a sound-alike, or just get somebody better, or not better, somebody cheaper. Because better is going to be hard to top, because it's hard to beat Haley Joel Osment. well, but yeah, I would definitely agree. His performance in 0.2, not the greatest. Sounded a little bit too cartoony. So here's hoping that that was just a result of this was just a rush recording, and he was just trying to get that done out of the door. And for Kingdom Hearts 3, it's a lot more consistent and realistic. Sora does definitely, at least in his Kingdom Hearts 3 outfit and his Kingdom Hearts 3 look, he does appear to be a little bit more mature. So perhaps they'll allow Haley to do that as well with his voices, to mature it just a little bit. Like, we don't want, like, man Sora, but, like, just a little bit, like, age him up a couple of octaves, and or not octaves, but like a couple of tones, and yeah, that could be kind of cool for Sora's character, like, especially if in the game, like, he actually has a maturing part to his, like, character, like maybe there's a character arc for Sora where he matures as a person. So if that is also reflected in his voice, that would be, like, amazing. I'd love to hear and see that. So yeah, moving on. The next question comes from Chet Michaels, and they ask, I've just got my first part-time job, and I was thinking about upgrading my TV since Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out next year. What is your opinion on 4K and HDR? And do you think Kingdom Hearts 3 will support either of them? So first, congratulations for your job. Second, so I would personally say, as someone who owns a 4K and HDR TV, well, I don't own two TVs. I own one TV that has both of those features. I will say, when it comes to 4K, definitely go for that. If you're gonna buy a new TV, definitely buy 4K. Especially if you're into games. If you're just into movies or TV, you can wait on 4K. But if you're into games are moving to 4K. Like, everything's moving to 4K when it comes to games. So I would definitely say that's a good thing to have. HDR is another thing. So HDR is good, and many games do support it now. But, and this is a big but, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money on this TV, I would not recommend getting HDR. And that has been my situation, is I didn't spend that much. I just wanted a TV that had HDR in it, and I feel like this particular TV's HDR doesn't really add anything to the image, or I mean it does, but it's not that jaw-droppingly awesome. It's not as jaw-droppingly awesome as you hear about when people see HDR on a real nice TV. So what quantifies nice? So specifically for HDR, so what does HDR stand for? It's high dynamic range, and that comes in the form of two things. That is color gamut, so that's how colorful the colors can get. There are shades of colors that you never knew you never knew. If only you could paint with the colors of the I don't know, whatever those RGB standards are. Once you see it, you'll know what it means. And so there's color gamut, and then there's also the actual brightness of the image. So on a real nice HDR TV, bright stuff can get real bright, and dark stuff can get real dark, or be pure black. And in that case, that is like a really nice TV. So currently, the best technology for HDR is OLED, specifically OLED. Do not be fooled by TVs that say, oh, I'm an LED TV. So what those are, that's an LCD TV that has a big, fat light behind it that creates all the light for the image. The problem with that is when you have just a pure white light behind your screen, you can't really ever get pure black out of that TV, because there's always going to be a light behind it, and it doesn't like contour to the image. There's no way for it to do that. It just either is on or off. And if you ever have, sometimes you'll have these TVs where it receives a pure black screen, the backlight turns off, So it's not so jarring when you have just a pure black screen and you realize, oh wait, that's not black at all. That's just like a gray, or like in some like really sad cases, it looks purple or something. So you'll notice sometimes that if you have a movie and it like fades to black and it's on a screen that's black for a little bit, you'll notice the backlight turned off in a really not subtle way at all. So yeah, that's something that's a problem for LED or LCD TVs, whatever you want to call them. So OLED is different. That's a different technology. That's really cool. So what that is every single pixel on that screen has an LED light. So if anything, even as small as 1 pixel is supposed to be black, that light turns off. That's awesome. You don't get more black than off. So if you want like pure actually black colors on your TV, you want to get OLED, because that is amazing. It is also very expensive. So I personally think that right now may not be the greatest time to go HDR. There's not enough content and the TVs are super expensive. Not like crazy, I'm not talking $10,000 expensive. I'm talking maybe, $3,000 to $5,000 expensive, which is expensive, but it's not like it's not out of the realm of possibilities for some consumers. They are consumer grade TVs. They're not like these things that only a business would buy. So they're out there, they exist, they look great. Now, to get to your question, what's the likelihood of Kingdom Hearts 3 supporting either of these? Well, it's possible, but going based off what they did with 0.2, it may not happen. 0.2 did not have HDR, and it did not do 4K. It actually didn't touch the resolution whatsoever. What it did do was uncap the frame rate and just basically allow the PS4 to go and run wild. Now, is that necessarily saying that Kingdom Hearts 3, the final release of Kingdom Hearts 3, it won't do something with PlayStation 4 Pro? No, that's not saying that. I'm just saying that that's what happened with 0.2, and if they elect to do the same thing, then, unfortunately you wouldn't see too many special benefits. That being said, 4K TVs are nice. Kingdom Hearts 3 is not the only game in the world. HDR is nice if you can afford it. I will say, though, if you have an OLED TV, if you have an OLED TV, even if you're just watching standard content, it looks amazing. Because, again, you don't need HDR to show a black screen on the image, on your TV. So you can get all those benefits of really deep black levels, or not deep black levels, actually black. So if you got a shadow on if you're fighting a shadow Heartless and they're supposed to be colored black, if that's what the scene calls for, if that's what the lighting calls for, it'll be black. Those LED lights just turn off. So that's amazing. So OLED is not just good for HDR; it's good for everything. OLED is amazing. So if you can get an OLED TV that's a nice one, hopefully it doesn't have a lot of input lag for game playing, that is the way to go. I wish I could get OLED, but that stuff is just way too expensive. Not in my price range. Not living in an apartment. No, not gonna happen. But if I could, that's what I would get. Assuming I had the money and the space for it. All right. So the next question comes from F.
All right, I'm gonna stop the podcast there. Let me just finish this one real quick. I didn't do any of those. Oh well. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'll continue the podcast in the next video. Probably some more Proud Quests. Bye.